Welcome to Safeword by Fear and Greed. I'm Aylmer. Up front, I need to let you know this is a business podcast. After all, it's made by the Fear and Greed team, responsible for Australia's most popular business podcast. But sometimes things just get a little uncomfortable, even in the world of business, and so sometimes a safe word is needed. Every week, I'm joined by my colleagues from Fear and Greed. Adam Lang, a man who enjoys being comprehensive, a man who has more subscriptions to online newspapers and journals than he has time to read, and a man who has conversations with his cavoodle puppy like it's a real person, often in front of us. Adam, good morning.
Good morning, Sean, and Maggie is a real person. Thank you.
Right. Michael Thompson, relentless in his pursuit of excellence, or at least Fear and Greed guests. Many guests out there know how relentless Michael can be. He's a man who seldom sleeps. We're talking 3 to 4 hours a night, a result of years of working on morning radio. And sometimes that shows up, really, particularly when he's having a gripe, which is fairly regular. Michael, Mickey T, good morning.
Hello, Sean. I'm a pretty placid fellow, though.
I used to think that. I'm Aylmer. I'm the one trying to keep things on track, trying to make sure there's still a bit of business in this so-called business podcast, but acknowledging it probably won't work. As always, we start off with what the Fear and Greeders are saying out there. Mickey, do we have any Fear and Greeders talking to us this week?
Well, we do. We always have Fear and Greeders. So I just love the fact that we now call people in the Fear and Greed community Fear and Greeders.
No, nauseating, isn't it? F and Gers, how about that? F and Gers?
F and Gers, that sounds a little bit more appropriate, doesn't it?
Yeah,
but look, you know what, let's stick with Fear and Greeders for now because it probably takes slightly less explaining. And look, we had one from Matthew who commented on LinkedIn that he, and this is a direct quote, absolutely loves listening to Safeword. Oh. Isn't that a passionate endorsement?
Good on you, Matthew. Thank you very much.
And look, LinkedIn's one way to do it. You can jump onto the Fear and Greed page on Twitter and Facebook and pretty much everywhere, or go to fearandgreed.com.au. And if you disagree with anything that we say, it'll probably be with something that Adam says, because he
agree with
maybe that. Just if you just disagree with how comprehensive he is, then feel free to jump onto fearandgreed.com.au and give him a gobful.
And you're also, with Adam, you're welcome to do the double speed or anything like that when he's talking.
Or just hit that skip forward 30-second button.
Yeah, no, that works. That's
just keep skipping forward until you hear either Sean or I talking, and then you can just kind of resume.
Okay, so does that bring up the safe word of the week before we get in too much further?
Yeah, that's probably a good segue into that. Do either of you have some option for safe word of the week? Otherwise, it's going to come back to me.
Oh, I have one. I actually do have a safe word, and this is actually, it's linked to a story that I wanted to talk to you both about.
Mostly safe word is such an arbitrary concept. It's actually linked to a story. Well done.
It might actually surprise you to learn that something I say is linked to something that is related to business.
To anything of relevance.
So a couple of options for our safe word this week. One would be Airbus, which I quite enjoy.
Very topical.
And well-being zone is the other one.
Well-being zone?
Well-being zone, which sounds like one of those airy kind of terms, but it also feels like it could be slightly able to be misinterpreted as something somewhat erotic. But so the reason...
Only by you, Michael. Go on.
No, I'm sure there's other Fear and Greeders that read into things a little bit too much as well. But... the reason why I am putting forward those two options, Wellbeing Zone and Airbus, is because there was a big announcement from Qantas this week. And I love anything to do with planes and Qantas and anything like that. So this was always going to be a story that I wanted to talk to you both about. And so actually, can we decide on what the safe word is before I go any further? Because you kind of know where I'm going. We're talking about new planes and things.
I like Wellbeing Zone.
Wellbeing Zone, good. Just in case you need it.
It's catchy, isn't it? Wellbeing Zone.
Wellbeing Zone. Well, you're not going to mistake that for anything. I mean, the idea behind a safe word is that it's not easily mistaken for anything else that's used in the environment when you might need to use a safe word.
You're starting to sound a bit like Adam, Michael.
What, being too comprehensive?
Very comprehensive.
It's infectious.
Adam has infected me. That is not a sentence I thought I would ever say.
No, certainly not. Wellbeing zone it is.
Okay, good. Okay, so the big announcement from Qantas, obviously, part of it was that the airline expects to be profitable next year. Great news, obviously, for shareholders. Though the thing that makes me more excited is the plan for non-stop flights to the other side of the world. To me, the fact that those plans are actually making really good progress, that's really encouraging. 12 new Airbus A350s. These are long range, really long range, fuel efficient aircraft. That's enough range for direct flights from Australia to any city in the world. Well, that's amazing.
Hold on. I have to correct you here. The A350-1000s, which is very different to the current A350-900s.
So hang on.
Sorry to be a pedant on you here, Michael.
1 minute ago, you accused me of turning into Adam and being too comprehensive. And now you're correcting me, not because I made an error, but because I wasn't comprehensive enough.
That's exactly right. A350-1000s, which is the long range, allows you to fly the 20 hours or whatever it's going to take, as opposed to the 900s. Better than the Dreamliner 787.
It's infected you both. Fantastic.
Yeah, look, I thought I would leave out a little bit of the irrelevant detail. And not only did you then add it in, you added more in, just in case.
We all love aircraft, don't we? Go on.
Yeah, we do. So, okay, we can accept that we have both been infected. Adam is now like the comprehensive patient zero, and now we have all been infected.
Super spreader.
Adam Super Spreader Lang. There we go.
He certainly is.
Now, so back to the actual flights. These are very long flights. Sydney to London, Sydney to New York, kind of pick anywhere. It's going to be a long flight. 20 hours sitting on a plane is going to be tough. Alan Joyce, the CEO of Qantas, said that...
He's very understated, Alan Joyce, isn't he?
He says that the cabin's going to be designed for maximum comfort in all classes, right? They're looking at ways to make it more pleasant for passengers, including a well-being zone, which is obviously where the Safeword today comes from. That's in the center of the plane. But picture this well-being zone. Apparently, it's got a self-service snack station, which you can just imagine is just going to be decimated by the
free for all
people in economy. There'll just be like crumbs and pretzels spread everywhere. And it's going to be designed to promote stretching and hydration. The walls of this zone are apparently going to have screens built in to guide passengers on exercises and stretches. But Sean, do you know who I can just picture up there leading the other passengers in their stretches?
Yes, go on.
Richard Simmons?
Adam Lang in his yoga pants, kind of taking people through their stretches. Because Adam, you're someone who can injure himself sleeping, so you appreciate the value of a good stretch.
I just want Adam's response to the idea that he'd be leading a yoga class somewhere, I don't know, somewhere over the Pacific, perhaps beyond Hawaii, when we've all been in the plane for 10 hours and you're just starting to think, I'm going to have to start rolling my ankles and my arms and that to get the blood circulating again.
There's Adam up there massaging his glutes.
I am barely familiar with yoga, so perhaps that's one of the many reasons why I damage myself so often. No, I won't be leading any yoga classes. I'm not expert.
Do you find though, whenever I have vein challenges, and that's VAIN as well as VEIN,
right.
back in your box, Michael, back in your box. Some of us love their veins in their legs. Anyway, I wear those TED stockings whenever I fly long distance, but I also every 2 hours have to do like certain movements and...
Do they have matching shoes?
Things like, it's very hard to get matching shoes with the TED stockings, to be honest. But so I always find myself standing in the middle of the aisle, rolling my ankle around and my wrists around and all sorts of things, trying to get blood circulating. So I think the idea of actually following Adamski in a yoga routine is very, very attractive.
So you can say definitively, Adam, that you will not be up there helping other passengers out with their stretches.
No, look, I won't, unless I've missed the invitation from Mr. Joyce to create said instructional videos. The only other way, of course, would be a live demo if I happen to be on the flight.
Well, that's what I assumed you'd be doing.
Happy to help.
Whenever you're flying, we're going with you.
Yeah. And this is the thing that even in economy, right, on this flight, even the leg room is better because it's all about passenger comfort. So that apparently economy passengers are going to have 33 inches of leg room, which is one more apparently than on the 787. So
It makes a difference.
the big question though at the moment is, and this is a big discussion on LinkedIn at the moment, is would you actually do it? Would you sit on a plane for 20 hours to get to the other side of the world if it meant that you didn't have to have a stopover along the way?
Oh, yes.
Oh, God. I mean, particularly if the stopover is in Los Angeles. Oof, the worst airport in the world.
Oh, see, to me, it depends on a couple of other factors, though. It's kind of what class you. If you're in business or above, go for it. That's really comfortable. That's pretty comfortable for 20 hours.
It's a hotel room, really, isn't it? It's like the holiday's begun the minute you walk on board.
Absolutely, and you're already kind of
Or the business trip, I should
Well, the
say.
champagne.
yeah,
The business trip.
downing the drinks in the lounge before you even get on the flight. Adam, I think this is almost an opportunity for a bit of a spreadsheet here, or kind of a flow chart kind of thing. So, depending on the factors, what class are you in? Business and above, go for it. Economy, okay. Then the next decision you need to make is, are you traveling alone? If you are, go for it. 20 hours, you can kind of get through that. You can fit in probably 9 movies during that time.
Without sleep.
But if you are traveling with kids,
Oh,
forget about it. 20 hours would be a bloody nightmare. 2 hours would be a nightmare.
You'd need a break.
yeah, but I mean, if you think about this, that means that people like me who have older children won't have to be on a plane with people like you, Michael, who have younger children.
There's a win.
Well, I wouldn't want to be on a plane with me, with younger children. But also on the 9 movies, you guys don't just use the time to watch movies on the plane?
I always get the first movie in, and then you eat, and you get a bit tired, and then I just struggle to focus on movies from then. You know, you're trying to fall asleep. Yeah.
I do too. And if I watch, when I'm not in an alert state of mind, I barely remember the film.
Well, no one's asking you to write an essay on it afterwards. Adam, it's not...
No. But you do need notes. You do need notes for the spreadsheet afterwards when someone asks you, what movie did you watch on the plane?
What rating did you give it?
Remember last week we heard that what was the under-15s?
Yes.
AFL game?
Yes.
And Adam was asked to pick the MVP, the 3-2-1
Votes, yes.
for the week, which goes towards the end of year award. He ran up and down the sideline taking notes on his phone.
I did. A very diligent approach.
Oh, my God. So this is the same sort of ilk we're talking about here. What movie did you watch on the plane, Adam? Oh, just hold on. Let me get my phone up. I'll tell you what about it.
No, I value the sleep. I love eating. It's like when you smell that food coming on a plane, it's just hard to keep your appetite suppressed, no matter how full you might be.
Maybe if you're in business and it's a business class meal.
Oh, anywhere.
Economy class meals are often a little bit kind of substandard. I tell you what, though, first class, Qantas is promoting first class. You get a Neil Perry designed menu. If I'm paying first class fares, I don't want a Neil Perry designed menu. I want Neil Perry on the plane cooking it for me.
Pop up Neil.
Yeah, exactly.
But they've had Neil Perry menus for years.
It's nothing new.
Yeah, but I bet it'd be great.
Oh, can I ask you both a question about flights? Speaking of movies, my record was watching, I got through 4 movies once on the flight from Dallas to Sydney, which is pretty kind of long. It's like 14 and a half hours. I got through 4 movies is a lie. I got through 3.95 movies.
He died. He died in the end, Michael. He
Lunging
died.
for the personal best.
Well, the thing is, I don't know how the Breakfast Club ends because I got 5 minutes short of the end.
Don't you forget about me. Don't you.
Yeah, Judd Nelson walking away.
Fist in the air.
That's it.
God, glorious.
Simple Minds playing, kicking in.
So that was 5 or 6 years ago.
One of the great endings of any movie ever, Adamski, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, it was wonderful. As a teen watching that, I loved it.
Oh, Mickey T, you've just missed one of the great 7 minutes of movie making.
Well, I don't need to see
Molly
it now.
Ringwald, Judd Nelson.
Emilio Estevez.
Ah, yes.
It was a bit of a snore fest, the movie itself, though.
Oh, not when you're 19 and you're watching it and you feel, yeah.
I think this goes to my point, Michael. You weren't alert enough to take it on. Give it another go.
Can I ask, when you're flying short flights, domestic, and especially when you're down and back in a day and you're coming back, you don't want to do work or read and you're having a glass of wine, do you have a go-to TV show on the entertainment system of the plane? I look through all the TV shows, then always go back to the same one. And the only time I ever watch this TV show is on a plane. Do either of you two have something similar?
No, but what's the TV show?
Modern Family. I never watch it.
Oh, it's good.
Great show.
It is a great show, but I mean, I've probably watched the first couple of seasons. The only time I've ever watched it, I reckon, in the last 5 or 6 years, is on a plane. And inevitably, I always watch it on the plane.
No, I usually work or...
On the way home?
Yeah.
Really?
Or
get a life, Adamski. Get a life.
I know, but if it's been a very long day, like you say, down and back in a day, I usually just listen to tunes on my iPhone machine.
Look, this actually began as our Safeword, which I think we worked out right at the beginning was well-being zone, but it really has carried on quite a bit. I think it's time to move on to a new business-related topic.
All right. So Jim Collins, Good to Great, the author of Good to Great, one of the great business books of all time, talked about getting the right people on the bus and getting the wrong people off the bus, right? And a lot of that sometimes is about toxic behaviour. So this week I've seen...
It's funny how Adamski brings up toxic behaviour to you and I, Michael. Go on.
Yeah, and just to clarify, this is Jim Collins, did you say?
Yes.
Okay.
Not Tom Collins?
No, I think Bill Collins, the movie guy.
Phil Collins, for that matter. He was singing about it.
I was like, oh, Bill Collins, sweet. We're still talking about movies. And I'm like, oh, no, it's a business topic. Carry on.
Jim Collins.
So 2 articles really struck me this week. One was via LinkedIn, and it was a New York Times article called "The Office Bully Won't Win." And another one was from Harvard Business Review, and it was saying leaders stop rewarding toxic rock stars. So
sorry, before we go on, Adam, so you're just hanging out, reading the New York Times, then on to the Harvard Business Review.
Yeah, page turners.
So the intro about having every journal known to man, not having enough time to read it, was true?
Well, look, I don't get to read them all the time.
So it's true.
So your statement is true.
What's your favourite magazine, Adamski?
Oh,
Quick.
Harvard Business Review.
What's yours, Mickey?
I don't think they publish it anymore. Ralph?
I got back copies, mate. I'll send them over.
No, I like the New Yorker.
Yeah, the New Yorker's a ripper. The Economist actually is, look, it's very hard to choose, but I'll go with Harvard Business Review so far. But this is, I guess, back to the toxic behaviour and that question, the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, and also in a realm where progressively these are hybrid working environments, right? So sometimes this behaviour and where it happens is changing. So the office bully, as the article refers to, may not just be the location office bully anymore, and toxic behaviour won't just be online or in the real world, it'll be all over. So going back to the basic essence of this and the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus, that great expression, I think, and this is about the behaviour you walk by is the behaviour you condone. And I know in parts of my working life, when particularly at the younger end, when I saw something that I wanted to question, frequently I didn't feel like I had the right to question it. And so to you both, and I'll start with you, Sean,
Here we go.
How often do you hold true to the if you see something, should you say something?
Oh, it's a trick question because half the time I don't see it and then someone points it out to me and I think, oh, yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that. I mean, I have this issue. So Jackie is very aware, my partner Jackie is very aware of just in her work and much more aware of society than I am. And so obvious things you see, and I totally agree. When you're younger, I would run from it sometimes. And, as you get older, hopefully you mature more, you become braver, more courageous around it. But there's still things that go on. And Jackie just points out what poor behaviour that was. I kind of thought it was funny. I just thought it was some raucous male being funny. Obviously sexual innuendo and all that's off the table, but just even much more subtle than that.
Yeah.
And so I'm still learning what behaviour.
Oh, me too.
Is good
I think
and
we
bad.
all are.
And
different perspectives, see things differently.
I'm sort of, I don't know whether this is part of the conversation or not. I remember talking to a woman called Georgie Dent, a fantastic lady who I worked with, now is very involved in many causes. She's written a great book. And Georgie, and I said to her, I've managed lots of people. What if I was inappropriate to someone, a female? And I said, I might not have even known. And she looked at me and she said, Sean, you'd know. And I think that's right. I sort of always live by that now. And so there are times in my life, and particularly when you're younger, and you think, I wish I hadn't really behaved that way. As you get older and you sort of have a better parameter or something around what you're talking about.
Well, that's good feedback from Georgie Dent, though, isn't it? That
she's right.
Would have known.
She said, you just know. And to me, it was a bit of a relief because I thought, actually, there's not any incident that I can think of.
Did you have to wonder about it?
Yeah.
And what about you, Michael? If you see something, would you say something?
I think I would do a lot more now than I used to. And I think a lot of that also comes from the environment in which you are working. And look, without sounding like I am trying to suck up here to make up for the things I've said about you so far in this episode, Adam.
Warning.
That a lot of it came from when, for example, when you were the CEO of the company that we were working for.
God, it was a mess, wasn't it?
It absolutely was, and I just tried to call it out again and again. No, it suddenly people could see that you would call things. It kind of started at the top, right?
Yeah.
And which is always the case. That is consistent across everything. That kind of the behavior and the standards for the company should be set from the top, and it just kind of filters down from there. And I think that kind of created an environment in which it was easier and also more clear that it was expected of you to call out things that you saw that were wrong. So I think that yes, I would like to think now going into an environment, say an office environment, I would feel more comfortable in doing that now, having worked in an environment where it was encouraged, required, and kind of role modeled from the top. But my God, we just got very serious, didn't we?
We did get very serious.
We did. There was this occasion on the weekend when I was with my younger son, again he was playing AFL. And he got monstered by this other kid. Essentially, my son's team was beating this other team, and the player that he was on became very frustrated during the course of the game and progressively was physically really going for him. And at one point, what he did was completely out of line, and the umpire sent him off. He said, "You're gone, and you're probably gone for the next week too." And I watched this kid walking off and I went, okay. So he seemed to accept his fate.
Did you take a note and put it in your notes, in your MVP notes?
It's a mental note.
Yeah.
So when we were walking by the other team after the game had all finished and our team had sung their song and whatnot, I said, I wonder what sort of role model this guy's got, this young man has got. And I saw the father patting his son on the back saying, "Good work, son." And my son said, "Did you hear that?" I said, "I did." And I really had to go through, if I see something, do I say something? And I decided not to. And I think it's the right call because I don't think it's appropriate in some forums to always say something. But then most of the time you should. But I just thought for that kid, God, that role model is probably a different one than I will ever choose.
But in that instance, it's not like you can't criticize. It's hard to criticize their parenting, and that's what you would be doing.
That's true.
I had an instance 2 years ago. I was watching one of the kids' rugby matches at school. A parent of the opposition player made a horrendous homophobic slur. Okay. I was on a side of the field where not many people were, and he told his son to do something to one of the players on our team. Dreadful and I was standing next to my 12-year-old son, the younger son, and I actually turned around to the guy in the end and said, "Look, do you mind? I don't think that's appropriate. This is just a school rugby game. We're not sheep station here, and that's a homophobic slur. Don't." And he went me.
Oh, did he?
Really?
Yeah, he did. He went me.
Turned his attention to you.
Yeah, moved on to me. And so I just grabbed my younger son. We just walked to the other side of the field. But then
it's the right action.
Complained to the school because it's totally inappropriate. And what actually upset me as much as anything was he was doing it while I'm standing next to my impressionable son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so out of line.
And were there other parents around or other people around, other adults around?
Normally at these games, you have one side of the field very busy and the other side very empty. And I happen to be on the fairly empty side. So there are a couple of the opposition parents around. They removed themselves from him. So clearly they weren't happy
Just
with
walked
it.
away.
But yeah, I mean, I was almost scared to say something to him. And I thought, well, this is ridiculous. Well, you've got to say something to him. Then he doubled down on me. But anyway, look, I mean, nothing came of it. But I do think you have to call it out. I think it's easier to call it out, but I do think you have to sort of be brave and call it out.
I do too. And I think it's, some advice I was given is a long time ago that's helped me do it was around just ask a question. Is that
Are you a dickhead, mate, or not?
Yeah.
Something like that. So you don't think so? Hey, look, I'm getting too serious. I'm actually, I think at this point.
Yeah, me too. Sorry.
I'm going to well-being zone it. I wanted to talk about the election this week.
That sounds lighter.
Yeah. Wow. What a barrel of laughs this is. We kind of got just a touch of policy from the Labor Party and its housing policy. But tell you what, this is just like this void of worthwhile information coming out of both political parties at the moment. I'd actually like a vision for the future. And all we're getting like small amounts of money being spent. We're getting attack ads from both sides. We're getting both sides saying, I'd do a better job than them. Jesus, just tell me what you're going to do. I'm actually getting quite frustrated. I mean, Labor came out with its housing policy. The idea that you're actually going to increase demand is not a good housing policy. You've got to increase supply. But just park that. I'm just sick of absolutely getting nothing from them except for glib comments about, and one-liners, which probably make the visual news look good, but we're just getting nothing from them. And we're 3 weeks in. We're 4 weeks in.
Sean, the election campaign is supposed to be a contest of ideas. Do you like the debates? I think they're much better in the US. I always think they're a lot more exciting in the US. Here they feel a little bit like that it is just a presentation of those same kind of one line.
Yeah.
The talking points that they seem to revert to. It doesn't really feel like they ever get into the substance.
Those US election debates apparently can literally swing elections because undecided voters in the US watch them. I don't know whether that happens here. We had the Sky News one and I think there's 100,000 people watching it, so that's not all the undecided voters out there. But in the US, they're really big events because both sides, the Conservatives and the Democrats, put a lot more effort into it, I think. I mean, I suppose I watch the debates, but I think you're right. They're just a bit glib.
Yeah, and look, I think that's probably fairly consistent with the overall feel and theme of the entire campaign.
So how are we supposed to know who to vote for?
Adam, spreadsheet.
Well, according to my spreadsheet, there's very few policy ideas coming out, Sean, which does reflect your point. But and on the particular issue of housing, I agree. This might be the former and recovering economist in me, but we have a supply issue. I don't know that tinkering with demand really addresses the problem at all.
Well,
I think it could make it worse. Yeah, I think it could make it worse. Is likely to. But in terms of the contest of ideas, I love those debates. In fact, I know it was just this week, someone had shared on social media, the Biden-Trump debate, but they'd superimposed a baby face and baby voices with what they said, and it was just hilarious to listen to them. But they were basically bashing each other up. There was very little policy in
As
it.
As babies.
Well, it was like Donald Trump's body and hair, but a baby face and a baby voice, and the same thing with Biden.
Actually, this is a good point, Adam. Of the three of us, you're the one that actually shares the dodgy videos and the TikTok memes and whatnot.
Yeah.
Michael and I we accept them and we go, oh, that's funny, that's good. Yeah.
I do a lot of research in all areas. Sure.
You know what my favourite thing, though, is? I reckon almost every week we should ask Adam to try and describe another meme or another video that he's watched online, because there is nothing more entertaining than listening to someone try to describe a political cartoon from a newspaper. Like it's just because
Difficult.
it never translates well. And I want to hear Adam do some more memes and videos because I reckon it's about on par with hearing someone do a cartoon out of the Herald or the Age.
Well, thank you for that affirmation, Michael.
No, that's all right. I was trying to pay you a compliment.
Thank you. But I think to your question, Michael, I'd love to see some more debate, and I would love to see that debate being moderated on policies and ideas you can't really control it getting into a slanging match or not, but a great moderator, I think, can play that role and play it well. And, yeah, bring it on. I'd love to see more of that.
Where's Spearsy when we need him? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Well, Spears is one of them. I think that there's many others that could do the role very well. And I wonder, just as a bit of a renegade, do you think you could have Clive Palmer and a couple of independents in amongst the debate?
Catherine Deves, Clive Palmer, Barnaby, Matt Canavan from the Nationals.
Craig Kelly.
Geez, that would almost turn into a blood sport,
wouldn't it be? Craig Kelly, definitely. Pauline Hanson. Oh, no, that'd be a debate
Jackie
I'd watch.
Lambie. Yeah.
Can I send us off in a sharply different direction?
Yeah, please.
And I apologise in advance for this. But and this is about as far from politics and as far from the serious topics we were discussing.
Your favourite magazine's Ralph. Keep going.
Well, this week I saw just a glimpse. It was just a glimpse of an article online, and I only saw the headline, and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. I might have to use it for Safeword and bring it up and ask the two of you your thoughts on it. It was an article about people falling in love with inanimate objects. And the problem was...
Caution.
The problem was
Please.
Yes, go on.
I didn't read the article. I just saw the headline and I don't even know where...
What put you off?
I don't even know where I saw the headline. So when I sat down to prepare for Safeword, and yes, I do prepare for Safeword, I remember the article and thought, got to find it. I've got to bring it up with you both because I want to know Adam's thoughts.
No. I want to start with you, Michael. Are you in love with a particular inanimate object?
No, not me personally. The problem with this though was that since I couldn't find it, I had to Google to find the article.
And all sorts of alerts sprung up.
This was a lesson in choosing what you search for very carefully. I just Googled inanimate object love. And then hit enter.
Yeah. Oh, yes, we've all done that. You're a bit like that UK Tory who just accidentally was looking at tractors and found himself looking at a porn site in the last week. Just like that. Is that right? In the House of Commons. And a couple of others of the politicians looked over his shoulder and he was looking at porn, and then he did it a second time and he said that was his real mistake, doing it a second time. So he's quit. I believe that's what you're trying to describe, Michael.
I didn't know whether we should be talking about inanimate object love or dangerous things to Google at work. I don't think either of them are particularly safe.
When you work in the House of Commons in the UK, you shouldn't be Googling tractors.
No, but if you represent a fairly an agricultural or rural constituency, you're going to be looking up tractors.
Yeah, I know, but I want to know how this fella actually can actually get away with saying, I was looking up tractor information and found myself on a porn site. That was his explanation. And he said, that was okay, but then I went back to the porn site a second time while in the House of Commons. He said, I should never have done that. No, you certainly shouldn't have.
That is fantastic.
I'm trying to remember his name.
Well, you should Google it. Google tractor porn politician and see what comes up.
Yes.
Wellbeing zone.
So he's a Conservative, Neil Parish. So Mr. Parish, a farmer, said the first time he had viewed the explicit material was when he had accidentally stumbled across when looking for tractors on a website with a similar name, and had then, quote, watched it for a bit, which I shouldn't have done. But my biggest crime is that On another occasion, I went in a second time, and that was deliberate.
Oh,
That was while sitting, waiting to vote on the side of the chamber. Beautiful. That's thanks to ABC News.
So he was looking for a particular type of tractor and then ended up on a porn site with a similar name. What was it? John Deere, do you reckon? Because that's that Massey Ferguson,
good.
perhaps. Yes. I'm quite intrigued as to how he made that jump across from one to the other, because John Deere does kind of raise a few questions as well. This is a G-rated podcast. Actually, is it G-rated?
Used to be. I think we're almost running out of time, though, which is probably fortunate because where we're going is not where we really want to be, is it?
No. Can I make one final point? It's almost a bit of a confession, and it's a clarification that I need to make. I've copped a bit of a hammering this in the last week because, Sean, on our regular Fear and Greed podcast, recently I took a Friday off.
What?
To attend my brother's wedding. And Adam, you did a fantastic job of jumping in and filling
adequate job of standing in.
Oh, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. And look, Andy, my brother, is a big fan of Fear and Greed. And on the Monday when I returned, Sean, you and I talked on the podcast about how good Andy's wedding was and Andy this and Andy that and that, which is great. But I made it sound apparently like he married himself.
Does that happen in your family very much?
It doesn't. It's not a very common thing to marry oneself or to marry an inanimate object, which you'll be pleased to know.
What's Andy's partner's name?
Well, and that's the problem. Belle, her name is, and the problem with that is that she is also a passionate listener of Fear and Greed. So,
oops!
Shout out to Belle.
I copped a little bit of heat over that one.
Fair enough.
Well, by omission, because we didn't mention Belle. Well, fair enough.
Yeah. Well,
we should have attributed the day to her too.
Considering I was there and I know her, and she's now in fact my sister-in-law, that I probably should have mentioned the fact that she was the other party in the wedding, and it wasn't just.
So I'd just like to say a special shout out to Belle, her husband. I can't remember his name, and her husband's brother, who's forgettable. Belle, thank you for listening, and good luck with married life. Right, I think we're coming to an end. Our time is up. We do have one more thing to do. I'll lead off. It's a recommendation for a show or a movie or a song or a band or a show, anything really. Ozark. I've just watched the second half of the 4th season.
Oh, wow, you just got to it?
Wow. The first and second season I struggled a bit. Third season I thought was good. 4th season I think is great. Ozark. Mickey T, have you got one?
Well, the problem with me is that I always recommend things that are old that I have only just rediscovered.
You're going to say Neighbours, aren't you?
No, I'm not going to say Neighbours. I'm a big fan at the moment of Parks and Recreation. Parks and Rec.
Never seen it.
Oh, you need to, Adam, and I feel that you will have a moment where you recognise yourself in this show. I'm not going to say who it is, but there is a particular character who I can just close my eyes and I can picture every single word coming out of their mouth as coming out of yours.
Yes. Go and watch it, Adam. Hey, just before I get away from Neighbours, Scott and Charlene are coming back for the final show.
Oh, that's gold.
Did you know that?
No.
Michael, do you know what we're talking about?
Yes, I do, but I'm going to well-being zone you on account of being exceedingly dull.
Oh, yeah, righto. Okay. Adamski, final recommendation before we go.
I've got it. Michael was talking about his love of inanimate objects. I don't have love for, but great affection for my record player.
No, well-being zone, stop.
Why?
I don't have a love of inanimate object. I need to clear that up because I do not want that on the record that I have a love of inanimate object. Some people do. I don't. Now you may carry on. I've safe worded you. Carry on.
Okay, so we know Michael loves inanimate objects. Adam, go on.
I have strong affection for my record player and stereo system. And on it this week I played an album by The Police called Regatta de Blanc, which was from 1978. It's a cracking record.
Righto. Go listen to that. So Parks and Recreation, early Police and Ozark. That's about it. Thank you very much for listening to Safeword by Fear and Greed. Mickey, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Sean.
Adamski, an honour as always.
Thank you, Sean.
That was Safeword by Fear and Greed. Don't forget to hit follow on Safeword so you get a new episode every week. Tell your friends, your family, your colleagues, tell everyone. I'm Sean Aylmer. Have a great day.